So this week I am going to do something pretty interesting. So I decided that I wanted another light in my office, and I was like, I could buy a lamp. And I was like, that sounds boring. I could make something. And I was like, what can I make? I was searching and searching, and I was like, a chandelier is pretty cool. And I was like, I could make one. I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, but kind of boring. And I was like, oh, I could make a horror related chandelier. Searched that, didn't find one. So I'm officially going to create this new trend of horror related chandeliers. All right then. So anyway, I bought a bunch of stuff. And when I say a lot of stuff, I mean like a lot of stuff. It's all in this box. You might be wondering what's in the box. It's not a head. If you don't get that, watch the movie Seven. It's pretty freaking good. Anyway, so I'm going to try and make this chandelier. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm just going to wing it, I guess. So let's see if I can do it. Let's see if this turns out cool or if it's a epic fail. I guess we'll find out. Okay, so I decided to take everything out of the box that I thought I was going to use. I decided against the creepy doll parts because I didn't want to be terrified when I looked at my chandelier. I wanted to look at it and go, oh, that's great. So I decided to take off everything that kind of struck my interest or I thought would look decent. I used these metal rings as like the framework of the chandelier, and then I used this fabric to cover the rings so that it just wasn't metal. So that's the process. I used hot glue to glue them on and then wrapped each ring with the fabric, which turned out to be really nice. I liked it better than the, metal ring. And then I used string to kind of make a framework for, connecting the pieces of the chandelier. I should have done more than just one pass with the string because when I was actually putting it together, I had to redo most of it because it was just not enough to be stable. It actually ended up being much heavier than I thought it would be. So, it was a bad decision on my part just to do the one pass. But I got all three rings connected with string, and then I moved on to putting everything kind of on where I wanted it to be. And from there, I just kind of made decisions based on what I thought would look nice or what I thought I would like better to, put on the chandelier. I decided to work on the bottom tier first because I knew it was going to take the most time. So here I decided on what pattern I wanted the bead strings to go in, and then from there I made as many strings as I could. About here is when I realized I definitely did not have enough beads. So then I went to the process of ordering a lot more. So I tried to get as many strings as I could out of the first box because I wanted to get a rough idea of how I was going to configure it. So I was able to get enough bead strings to at least start with the application process and kind of get a rough idea of, what I was expecting. I knew I wanted 3 bead strings in each section, and I decided that I wanted one of them to look different so that when you looked at it, it wasn't all just the same strings. So I decided that I was going to try and figure out how I wanted to put this on the chandelier. And, it was weird because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So when I finally got it finished, I was like, oh, I was pleasantly surprised. And, it actually looks really nice. So the next part here is where I show you what it looks like and how I decided to configure it. And, like I said, I'm really happy with how it looks. All right, so here is the middle tier, and I kind of thought these skeletons looked really cool, and I wanted them to have the fabric that was wrapped around it to kind of look like they were stuck in it. I decided against using these spiders after I put them on. I thought, one, they were black, so it was hard to see them, and two, it just didn't I didn't feel it after I put it on there. I kind of was like, yeah, I don't like it. So I decided against putting them on, so I did take them off after I had already put them on. So here I'm cutting off the chain sections that are going to be used to connect each tier together. I used just normal chain that you would like have for a necklace, and then I used jump rings to connect them to each other. I did end up having to reinforce them a little bit better. Like I said, I should have done a little bit more when I was doing the strings, and it ended up being a little bit too heavy, so they kind of broke and I had to keep on fixing it. So I did reinforce them. I did put more jump rings on so that the weight was more distributed throughout the chain. So this was after I got the extra boxes of the beads, and so I started the process of doing the same exact thing that I did on the first section around to the other sections. So here's where I reinforced the rings that were going to be used for the battery packs and the lights, because those battery packs are pretty heavy. And when I put them on before this process, they kind of made everything stretch, and I was afraid that it was going to break. And so I got these battery powered remote control string lights, and then I used zip ties to actually connect them to the rings so that they didn't unravel. So the string lights are like a flexible wire, so they bend really nicely, but they wouldn't have stayed connected if I didn't put them on with zip ties. So here we go with the grand reveal. Ta-da! It turned out great. I think it's really, really beautiful. I love the bottom tier and I knew I would. I like it even when it's not lit up, but when it's lit up, it really sparkles. And I think that I honestly, I'm super, super happy with it. And I'm proud of myself for taking an idea that was in my head and bringing it to reality and bringing it to life. So it's finished. It honestly looks like a tornado has gone through my office. There is stuff everywhere, stuff all over the floors. Kept on dropping stuff, ruining stuff, breaking stuff. It's just a mess. Um, it's done. It did take 2 weeks, and honestly, I can see why it took 2 weeks. The most difficult part was the beading, but it's also the best part of the whole project, I think. It's the showpiece of the whole thing. It's beautiful. Honestly, it's exactly how I wanted it to be. So I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy with all of it, honestly. I mean, it is exactly what I wanted it to be. It's got that whole haunted, spooky vibe to it. I didn't use all the stuff that I bought because, some of it didn't look right. So I just kind of stayed with the skeletons stuff because I thought that was really cool and it all matched. Um, I honestly think it's great. I'm excited to put it up and have it in my office for people to see when they, come here. Um, I have decided that I'm going to completely redo my whole office. I have decided that I'm going to make this just a complete horror den, really. I'm going to be taking down all my Batman stuff, putting that in storage until I'm able to have my library, which I'm going to be doing in, I don't know, a couple of years when the girls are done playing in their playroom. I don't know if I'm going to take down all my Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. I'm kind of like torn about it because, I mean, it is, I wouldn't say horror, but, Halloween kind of feel to it. I mean, yeah, I just don't know. Um, some of my Pokemon stuff is going to come down. I don't know about my cork board because that's kind of something that I need for all my Pokemon pins. I might move it somewhere else so it's not like right on the wall that most of my stuff is going to be on. But yeah, I'm completely redoing my room. I've bought all new decorations for it. I have some really cool stuff. I actually have like this hand that is going to hold the chandelier. I'm really excited for that. I think that's going to be awesome. So that is going to be really cool to show you when it's done. At this point, I don't think I'm going to do that until the end of November when I have all the projects done that I'm planning on doing because they're all horror related and they're going to be put in my office somewhere. So maybe the beginning of December, I'll start redecorating my whole office. I'm going to keep the gray color because I think it'll look great with the decorations. I would like to have it black, but I can't do that. It would just make the room look so small. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something different, but at this, gray's fine. But I'm really excited. I think the chandelier turned out great. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted it to be. So I think that's awesome. I don't know if I'm going to have the mental capacity to do something this difficult again. I think if I had beads, I would probably chuck them somewhere because at the end of it, I just could not believe how insane my idea was and how just difficult it was. Honestly, it took me a week alone just to finish all the beading and figure out how to get it on there to make it look the way it does. I mean, it was crazy. I expected it to be a certain number of beads and then, but no, it was a lot more. Anyway, happy with it. Turned out great. Excited for you guys to see it and I hope you like it and we'll see you next week.